So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session on the new business opportunities in the chemical, polymer, rubber, and engineering sectors in the Abu Dhabi. Based on the trends in the past decade, polymers and chemicals are the two major growth areas for the industry, capitalizing on these trends. KIZAD, the largest integrated industrial and logistic hub in the MENA region, has designed KIZAD Polymers Park and KIZAD Chemicals Cluster as ecosystems and platforms with an efficient supply of utilities, world-class infrastructure, multi-modal connectivity, and proximity to raw materials. The estimates say that the KIZAD Polymers Park will be producing 300 to 400 kilotons of plastic products a year, creating up to 7,000 new jobs, contributing to $2.5 billion to the Abu Dhabi GDP by 2025. This webinar will focus on the unique advantages that KIZAD offers for Indian polymers and chemical companies looking to establish their presence in the Middle East and to use Abu Dhabi's connectivity and state-of-the-art infrastructure to reach their markets and customers. We will be covering the following topics in today's seminar: opportunities for Indian plastic and polymer manufacturers in the Middle East and Africa, creating new possibilities in polymers and chemical sector in Abu Dhabi logistics infrastructure for Indian manufacturers and exporters. A warm welcome to all our participants today. A very warm welcome to all our panelists. I would like to welcome Mr. Mansoor Al-Marar, Director Commercial Zone Development, Khalifa Industrial Zone, Abu Dhabi, Mr. Ranjit Zadav, Chairman of the Indian Plastic Institute, Pune Chapter, and Plant Manager, Delphinium Private Limited, Mr. Kem Kurkoglu, Head of Chemical Cluster KIZAD, Mr. Casper Castricum, General Manager, Arabic Chemical Terminal, Mr. Karan Kapadia, KIZAD India Representative, Mr. Varun Sharma, Mr. Arun Anirudhan. A warm welcome to all of you. We will formally begin this program now. I would like to now invite Mr. Mansoor Al-Marar, the Director Commercial Zone Development, Khalifa Industrial Zone, Abu Dhabi, to deliver the opening address. Over to you, Mr. Mansoor Al-Marar.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, distinguished viewers and guests and panelists. I believe this is a great opportunity for all of us to come together, although virtually, but through a very specific and very important topic that Abu Dhabi and the UAE is working very hard towards growing that sector and also providing the right opportunities for various Indian manufacturing and logistics companies to tap into the various opportunities that our colleagues will talk about in details through their talk. Obviously, this collaboration with the Maharata Chamber of Commerce, Industries and Agriculture is a pivotal in this strategic approach to really integrate both opportunities and see how we can deliver various value proposition for the India Business Group in general. As all of you might know, and this is also very important, UAE today is number one in the Middle East, North Africa region in terms of global competitiveness and innovation index. And that stems from the value that the government has created in terms of allowing ease of doing business and providing consistent and guaranteed supply of different type of incentives stemming from either utilities or duty-free environment and other funding packages. Abu Dhabi today represents the capital of the UAE and is also home to over 90% of the UAE oil and gas reserves, and is also hub to innovation, technology-driven society, which also provides the right platform between securing the proper raw material that is available and also the innovation part of it that allows for that combination to create a greater opportunity for all manufacturers and traders. The relationship between India and UAE continues to grow ever since and is stronger and very well established. Engagements are being conducted between two governments on a variety of topics, including area of trade, commerce, food security, and also industrial development. At KIZAD, our vision and mission is to create a world-class infrastructure and supply chain ecosystem that directly addresses the pain points and create opportunities and platforms to reach either local, regional, and global market. And I believe and welcome all Indian companies to take advantage of this seminar to understand more of how KIZAD and its ecosystem provides various opportunities within the polymer and chemical sector. Shortly, also, we are developing various facilities within our area, and one of the main projects we're working on, aside from the primary infrastructure and other incentives, is a very dedicated liquid terminal that will come up in Khalifa port, and my colleague Mr. Casper will talk in detail more about it. This is a greater also added value that will address various challenges in terms of handling different type of liquid cargo within the area and either inbound or outbound, and how that can create value for various industries here in KIZAD. Obviously, this will be covered in more details, as I said. In a nutshell, I believe this is a greater opportunity for all of us to understand how Abu Dhabi and KIZAD is providing opportunities in the polymers and chemical industry. I would like to thank all of you for attending this webinar and looking forward to a beneficial conversation during this seminar and post that seminar, hopefully with a greater collaboration and interaction by everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mansoor Al-Marar, for giving us an overview of the Abu Dhabi economy and the opportunities that are available for the chemical and rubber industry. Thank you very much for sharing your views here. I would like to invite our colleague, Mr. Ranjit Zadav, to share his views on the opportunities for Indian plastic and polymer manufacturers in the Middle East and Africa. Mr. Ranjit Zadav is the chairman of the Indian Plastic Institute, the Pune chapter. Mr. Ranjit.
So with due respect to all the speakers and participants who are on time, I will start my presentation. Most of the participants should be businessmen and entrepreneurs. So I first salute them because they do a lot in nation building, and I know how hard it is to be an entrepreneur in India, because I have myself been an entrepreneur for 10 years. So if you can do business in India, you can do business anywhere in the world. So with this, I will just go ahead. I will just like to do a small, some small exercise. If all of, because I don't have cameras with all, but if you just fold your two hands, just check which of your thumb is on the top. If you are a righty, your right hand will be on the top, a right thumb will be on the top. You are a lefty, your left hand will be on the top. So again, just remove and just put it again. So again, it will be the same. So now just try changing the thumb and see how you feel. You will feel a bit uncomfortable. So I always say life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So all entrepreneurs, I welcome you to come out of your comfort zone and look for opportunities in the Middle East and Africa. Can you share the presentation on board? Next slide, please. Yeah, you can just click. So globally, the polymer industry is growing at a CAGR of 7 to 8%, and IMF forecasts a 2.6% GDP growth for 2021 in the Gulf region and 3.4% for Africa. And in the coming decades, UAE local plastics, petrochemicals, rubber industry is predicted to grow between 5 to 6% on an average. And a lot of expansions in polymerization capacities in the Middle East are happening. And Middle East is UAE is the second largest plastic converter in the Gulf Cooperation Council countries. So moving to the next slide, I will just elaborate on what all scopes are there. Demand for plastic products is expected to increase due to the growth in the UAE as well as the GCC countries. And of course, we have the MENA market, that's the Middle East and North Africa. I think there are 19 countries approximate. So here, the plastic packaging market is expected to grow at a CAGR of 6.5% for the period 2025. You also have commodity plastics expected to register a growth of 2.5% till 2027. Plus, you have cheaper feedstock coming in from Middle East countries, because you have some of the largest producers of polypropylene, polyethylene in the Middle East, like Buruj, Sabic. There's one company in Qatar, Capac. And a lot of construction activities are going to give a good incentive for the commodity plastics in the Middle East and African countries. Engineering plastics also is expected to grow at a CAGR of more than 5%. And of course, with all this growth, you have master batch growing at a rate of 6% till 2025. And the main consumption of master batch is coming in the packaging sector, which is going to contribute most, because packaging is an important category for the MENA market because of consumption of cosmetic products, beverages is increasing day by day. And plus, with all this increase, there is always a tremendous potential for the recycling business, because the way plastics grow, then you have more plastics coming in for recycling, and so it has tremendous potential for the recycling business. And I think there is a concept also called made in UAE also. I don't know much details about it, so I will not talk. Maybe anyone from the speakers are aware of this. I read some articles on it, but I will not be the right person to talk much on it. And looking at this potential, I expect all our Indian entrepreneurs to take a step out of their comfort zone and start investing outside India, and making Indian businessmen and Indian feel proud. So with this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ranjit, for giving an overview of the opportunities in the Middle East region, and also for sharing that the annual growth rate in this particular industry is between 7 to 8%, showing that there is ample opportunity for business to expand in that region. Thank you so much for your time. With this, I would like to invite our next speaker. He is Mr. Kem Kurukoglu. Mr. Kem is the head of chemical cluster of the KIZAD. He would be sharing his views on creating new possibilities in the polymers and chemical sector in Abu Dhabi. Over to you, Kem. And you have to mute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yes, thank you very much, Manjari, for the introduction, and also Ranjit for showcasing the numbers. I think this is just proving that the chemicals and polymers industry in the Middle East, specifically also in the UAE as a raw material supplier, but also as the market is growing. So thanks for that. So yeah, I would like to introduce you Khalifa Industrial Zone Abu Dhabi, which is KIZAD, and as you can already see on the first slide, it is an award-winning industrial zone based in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. And as already Mansoor highlighted, the UAE is ranked 12th globally in ease of doing business by the World Bank. And Abu Dhabi itself is a dynamic, fast-growing regional trade and manufacturing hub. So just to give you a few more figures on Abu Dhabi. And Abu Dhabi is a powerhouse in the UAE, which contains also more than 90% of the oil and gas reserves in the UAE, and it accounts more than 60% of the GDP. And looking globally, the UAE is under the top 30 global economies. On the commercial side, it provides a zero income tax environment and also the availability of full ownership in certain industries. And in terms of quality of life, it's considered as the happiest city in the Arab region and also the safest city in the world. Can you see my slides or?
Actually, no.
Yeah,
Yeah, now
take some time for the.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can see too. So KIZAD is part of Abu Dhabi Strategic Vision 2030, and the goal is that it's supposed to contribute 15% of the non-oil GDP by latest 2030, and this is more on track. And the whole area covers around 410 square kilometers, which is divided into an area A and an area B. Area A also consists of Khalifa port, and it's more or less fully developed. Area B is also under development, and this will be done by different phases just based on the sheer size of the whole area. So one of the advantages of KIZAD, and this is already in place, of course, is the excellent connectivity and the existing infrastructure. One is the I already mentioned Khalifa port, which is already operational. Then the connectivity to all the major roads in the UAE, of course, which also provides you a network to the wider GCC network. The proximity of 3 international airports within 100 kilometers, and within 4 to 8 hours, you can reach up to 5 billion people, and which is fairly new for the Middle East. And I think India already has an existing extensive rail network. There is currently the rail network being constructed in the UAE, and Khalifa port will be the first industrial zone with a direct connectivity up to the port. And this will be also going forward integrated in the larger GCC rail network, which is also under construction from the neighboring countries. KIZAD is part of the Abu Dhabi Ports Company portfolio. We have Zones Corp, which is another industrial zone, and of course Khalifa Port, which being all under one umbrella makes it more easier to be operational and more efficient. Currently, we are hosting more than 1,500 plus companies, starting from small local regional players up to large international companies. And currently we're having land bank of 555 square kilometers, out of which 100 square kilometers are fully free zones, and the whole free zone area is based in KIZAD. There are several major developments ongoing, and this is just give you a few of them. One is the expansion of the container terminal. So in the next 5 years, it is planned to quadruple the capacity for up to 10 million TEUs. And also there are further developments to increase the number of port-to-port connections and establish KIZAD or Khalifa Port as a major transshipment hub. And also to showcase you the trust and the importance of that, this is underlined by major investments by MSC and COSCO. Another major project is the expansion of the auto terminal. And we have a specific automotive cluster. And going forward, there are plans to develop the further automotive industry. And of course, this will also have an impact on all the supplies from the chemical, but also on the polymer side. And one of the major developments which will have definitely a direct impact on the chemical and polymers area will be the development of the liquid and gas tank terminal. This is done by Arabian Chemical Terminals. I will not talk too much about it. Kasper will be able to give you a bit more details on this. I mean, just a few points. This will be a major changer for the import and for the exports in the region, and also will help other companies to reduce or optimize their CAPEX and OPEX, since there will be also additional services being provided. I mean, as mentioned, KIZAD is a relatively new integrated industrial development, and then this was done on kind of a master plan. And we have the idea of an integrated circular industrial area with different clusters. And as you can see, we have 8 clusters: metals, pharmaceuticals, food, automotive, as mentioned, logistics, energy, polymers, and chemicals. And specifically, the last 2 mentioned are part of Abu Dhabi visions to further expand in the downstream sector. And here is like a really push from governmental and also to support this. I'm not going too much into the numbers, Ranjit already did, just to showcase you a few. I mean, in the last 10 years, the chemical capacity in the GCC itself grew by around 5%. And in the same time frame in the UAE, this was more or less 3 times larger. But we are not only looking to the past, but also looking forward. We expect an annual growth on the chemical capacity in the UAE only for about 4% per annum. On the polymer side, in the next 5 years, the UAE will be account for around 15 million tons of the polymer output, including the derivatives. And as already mentioned, Borouge is a major producer of polymers. In 2019, in conjunction with Borouge, the KIZAD Polymers Park was launched, and there's a dedicated area of around 2 million square meters for polymer companies, where currently we have nearly half of it already occupied by 20+ investors. And additionally to that, there is already an existing polymer-specific infrastructure in terms of warehouse, a certain logistics center, but also packaging line, which is film, fill, and seal, already existing to support the dynamic growth. So what are the segments we are targeting for the chemicals sector, but also for the polymer sector? In the chemical sector, we are not looking to the base chemicals, which is run by economy of scale and feedstock. We are more looking into the specialty chemicals, which is like innovation, technology, people, IP driven, like catalysts, oil field, water treatment chemicals. Construction chemicals, I mean, the construction in the Middle East plays a significant role, and we are not here only talking about major residential and commercial projects, but also about infrastructure and industrial projects. Nutrition and health, hygiene and personal care. I mean, this is driven by the population growth and also by the increased health awareness, but also, as Ranjit mentioned, expenditure into personal care per person is very high here compared to the rest of the world. And then, of course, hygiene and health, unfortunately, with the recent pandemic, there will be also push to further investment in this one. And here, from KIZAD perspective, we're covering the whole value chain, starting from warehousing to distribution, but also providing solutions for blending, formulation, and also to the highest level of manufacturing. On the polymer side, as already mentioned, there is an availability of local raw material in the region, but also significantly in the UAE. And there we also have strategic partnerships. And here we go down the value chain, starting from the formulators like master batchers, but also plastic compounders, etc. And of course, the proximity to the end user, but also the availability of the logistic facilities to further distribute the end materials. And I mean, in general, KIZAD will give you the advantage of a geographic agglomeration of companies, suppliers, service providers, and being in one location on a cluster-based approach will, of course, also help you to increase your productivity, but also your competitiveness. And being a government entity and having all the relationship to the government entities and their subsidiaries, when it comes to feedstock projects, of course, we always do align with ADNOC and the subsidiaries. I mean, as mentioned, we do have strategic partnerships in place on the raw materials side with ADNOC and Borouge, but also on the governmental side with the Department of Economic Development, with the Industrial Development Bureau, and also when it comes to strategic partnerships, investments with Abu Dhabi Investment Office, which also sometimes takes stakes in very innovative and relevant investments. So what can KIZAD actually offer for the chemicals cluster and polymers park? We do provide the right business environment with the license to operate, the availability of energy and other utilities in a very cost-efficient manner compared regionally, but also globally, the access to an existing infrastructure, duty exemptions, support and service facilities like storage, specialized logistic providers, accommodation, and then access to financial services, R&D, and educational facilities. Furthermore, feedstock and access to feedstock and other suppliers in order to support and further integrate your processes into the value chain, and also the access to other existing clusters as a circular approach and based on connectivity. So we have a variety of possible investment offerings based on your needs. So we do have existing service plots, which can be shaped based on the client's requirements. And this is kind of plug and play. So the infrastructure, the connectivity of gas, power, utilities is already there. I mean, our approach is very clear and transparent. There's a possibility for going for up to 50 years leasehold agreements, and even there, the escalation factors and everything is already clear, so you will not be surprised by any developments in the future. We have warehouses and light industrial units available in different sizes, which can be used for distribution and storage, but also for light manufacturing activities. And then for commercial and service activities, we also do offer a solution for that. And this all comes as a one-stop shop through our digital gateway called Magda Gateway. To sum it up, I mean, our aim is, of course, to make all the investors more competitive, to help them to grow their business and to expand their business. And I mean, we do provide the right business environment, which we are constantly improving and strengthening our network. And this is not only on the commercial side, but also on the political side, as recent developments like the peace treaty with Israel, which is a new market, and there are enhanced trade opportunities coming up. I mean, we are part of the Abu Dhabi Vision 2030, so we do have the full governmental support when it comes to downstream expansion in any chemical area. This is one of the large industrial and feasibility development projects in the world, and with existing trade-free agreements in the Greater Arab area, this is not only focused on the GCC, but also on the wider Arab region. And of course, a very beneficial capital repatriation and tax system when you're moving your profits to back to the headquarters. And of course, due to strategic location and the world-class port facilities, this can be used as a gateway into Middle East, Africa, and Asia. And one last point I did not highlight, but in case you would like to expand your business with ADNOC, there was recently the in-country value concept introduced in the UAE, and of course, being in KIZAD, which will help you to achieve the certification for this one. And of course, most importantly, we do have a team that supports you all the way, very professional and very dedicated. And Karan, our representative in India, I think it's a sign for that. Thank you very much. I hand over to the next speaker.
Thank you, Ken, for the elaborate presentation on the facilities available at the cluster. Thank you so much for the detailed views on the same. I would like to invite Mr. Casper Castricum. He's the General Manager of the Arabic Chemical Terminal. He would share his views on Abu Dhabi's logistics infrastructure for Indian manufacturers and exporters. Over to you, Casper.
Yes, thanks, and good afternoon, everybody. Very pleased to be part of this event, and I will try to share some of my views and a small animation video about the operations we're going to do in Khalifa port. We are Arabian Chemical Terminals, originally a Saudi-based company with facilities in Yanbu and Jubail. Comparable, let's say, comparable industry cities. A bit ahead in timing of Khalifa port. So we have a lot of experience in developing liquid terminals in developing regions. That's also our aim. So we are the first commercial liquid terminal in Abu Dhabi. Our focus is to redirect products from other Emirates that are bound to Abu Dhabi users, or simplify bulk shipments instead of ISO or smaller batches that are coming into Abu Dhabi right now. We will focus in our first phase for, let's say, the smaller niche chemical market. We have selected Our tank size currently up to 2,500 meter per tank, and we have 40 of them. So we have a total volume of 100,000 cubic meter in our phase 1. This is yet awarded. So we have last week celebrated the award to the EPC contractor, and we will be operational and commissioned 24 months from now. So it's a bit, we are not too far from that. Establishing a product stream into a region takes time. So the reason why we selected KIZAD, again, we are a private investor, but we feel very, very welcome in this region and also in support of KIZAD. This event is a good example of that, but in other commercial, the ease of doing business and the support for contracts, the permits and everything around it that is required to set up your business here is very much appreciated. So we are part of the community of Khalifa Port, well supported by Abu Dhabi Ports, the organization, and KIZAD, of course, a subsidiary. Physical reasons, modern infrastructure. The port has deep sea access up to 16 meter, good hinterland connections, air, sea, road, rail, everything is there. So for companies from India who like to be connected better to Abu Dhabi as an emirate, we are perfectly situated pretty near to Dubai as well, so we can cover that region. And we can take care of products for import and distribute them. We can also take care of the road transport, break bulk in ISOs, drums, IBCs, other packaging materials. We can do that all in our own facility. So it might simplify your import business, the easiest of doing business here. We see also very strong incentives from the local governments and support by simplifying and digitalization of those processes. We are working hand in hand to achieve a very friendly doing business environment for clients that want to import chemicals and deliver them to the clients door to door. Good example is, of course, ADNOC and his ICV program, already mentioned by Sam. It's a pretty strong incentive to land your products in Abu Dhabi to be kind of enhance your ICV score in doing business with ADNOC and its subsidiaries. So I think we're moving up now to a small animation that will be shown to you, and I will, after that, close out with some words. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Casper. Have you concluded, or would you like to say something more?
Yeah, just a few words after it. I know the video is pretty fast to check online during the event, so, but you can look it up at our webpage and LinkedIn page, which was mentioned. But just as a few closing words for the Indian companies that are on the call right now and that are kind of and reach out to them is what we are looking for and who we like to serve. We are, of course, focusing very much for our phase one, which is relatively smaller tanks for import and export of products and distribution to the region. That can be a GCC distribution. We are very well located. We are connected very well. So we can cover other Emirates and GCC countries as well. We have the networks for that, and we have decades of experience in that. Further, for Indian companies that are considered to invest in the industrial clusters in Abu Dhabi, such as KIZAD, Zones Corp, ICAD, we have availability of land in the port to build up larger tanks, bespoken tanks for gases. Hydrogen is a hot topic right now, literally, or green ammonia. So if you want to invest in your production facility, hence not in an outlet on the water side in the port, we can offer those services to you, reducing your capital expenditure and offer that as a services. So these are a bit the closeout words I wanted to say, and very much appreciated your time, and looking forward to speak with you.
Thank you, Casper. That was wonderful and very elaborate information that you shared with all our participants. Thank you so much. I would now like to invite Mr. Karan Kapadia. He's the India representative of the Kizar region. So, Karan, would you please share a few words with our participants and an overview of the Kizar?
Yeah, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you, Manjari, for the introduction, and thank you to all the speakers for the inputs already provided. I think let me, before I get into or dive into what I need to say, I think it makes significant practical sense for everybody to do that simple exercise that Ranjit actually gave. It is certainly a very, very difficult task for entrepreneurs to set up their business in India. And I completely agree with him that if you're in a position to run a business in India, you can be in a position to run your business anywhere in the world. Important take from that for me, and I'm certain many of y'all, is that Indian businesses need and are getting out of their comfort zone. There's tremendous amount of opportunities which global markets now presents, given the fact that everybody has gone through challenging times for 2020 and continues to also manage the scenario going forward. I think the UAE and Abu Dhabi has done a significant amount of work and tremendous amount of resources to welcome global players. Notwithstanding this, I think the Indian companies are one of the key drivers in moving ahead in setting up, internationally. Of course, it's been largely the large industries and the large companies which have done that, but we are seeing a fair amount of the mid-size and also interest coming in from the small segment of Indian companies. Let me quickly put up a couple of slides to share exactly what I'm trying to drive home. This specific area of focus, which is the India-UAE Trade Development Index, is extremely crucial for all of us to know and to look at. The fact is that it's not the UAE, it's not new to Indian companies. They've been there as early as the 1970s, having set up bases and have grown significantly. over 4,300 companies already have a base in the different Emirati states of UAE, and this is ramping up as we speak. Important to also point out that under 5,000 trademarks and trade licenses have been issued to Indian companies, making it certainly from an Indian context, improving the significant amount of focus in trade and development. For India, the UAE is the third largest trading partner at about $60 billion. This is the all-time high that India and the UAE achieved in 2019. And it started with a modest figure back in 1970 at about 180 million US dollars. So you can really see the focus and the kind of extent that both countries are forging ahead with a very close partnership, as Mansoor highlighted in his opening address. From an Indian point of view, and like I mentioned, there's about 4,300 companies which are already based there, Indian companies already based there, with a total size of investment of about $85 billion. And this is important to understand because many a times we are faced with questions of new location, new geographies. We are faced with questions, and rightfully so, with the point is that safety concerns on legislation, concerns on policies and procedures. And it's important to understand that already Indian companies have invested a significant amount of capital to set up their businesses in the UAE, not just to tap into the UAE or the GCC, but to access the world market from the UAE. FDI into India from the UAE is also rising steadily, currently at about $25 billion. And this is also an important number that gets tracked in the India-UAE Trade Development Index to see the extent of cross-investment fertilization which takes place across both the countries. Let me go to my next slide. Right, so these are examples of some fairly large headlines that hit the Indian papers and also had a significant amount of eyeball attention. And by the way, all these developments that you see on the screen that has taken place has happened in probably the most challenging times that we faced in 2020. The point I'm trying to bring out in this particular slide is that the government-to-government engagement between the UAE and India has continued to strengthen and has continued to develop and evolve into more closer partnerships from both sides, to the extent that several concessions have been made by the Indian government for UAE establishments investing in India, and from a point of view of concessions being also reciprocated by the UAE government for Indian companies establishing in the UAE. KIZAD as a framework creates that platform, creates that opportunity for Indian companies to really tap in and gain from and leverage from the G2G engagement, which is strong currently and continues to evolve into more closer partnerships. And therefore, my suggestion to all my friends from India, as well as those who are just starting off in new startups, to seriously evaluate the UAE and Abu Dhabi and KIZAD, and we will be very happy to welcome and support you in your plans for scaling at a global level. With this, let me hand back to Manjari, and we can dive straight into the Q&A. I would also like to introduce my colleague Varun Sharma, who looks after the India business in KIZAD. He's based out of Abu Dhabi, and he's with us on the call, and he handles day-to-day live examples of Indian companies and setting up. Go ahead, Manjari.
Yeah, thank you, Karan. We have some questions which our participants have shared with us. So I'm putting across the questions to you. One of you could please take it. The first question is, what are the opportunities for Indian rubber product manufacturers in KIZAD?
Okay. Jem, you'd like to take that question?
Sorry, I think that what are the opportunities for what startups? I didn't hear the rest.
Opportunities for Indian rubber product manufacturers in KIZAD.
Okay, see, I mean, on one hand side, I mean, there's several aspects, right? I mean, KIZAD, of course, provides the right opportunity and right investment environment, also from infrastructure and also from an industrial setup. In terms of markets, I mean, there are, of course, opportunities also for rubber market. I mean, in order to really qualify and answer this question, we would really need to understand what are the requirements and business opportunities they're looking for. But the rubber, looking forward, is also used in the medical equipment and also in the packaging and automotive industry, which will be also upcoming. I'm not sure if it really answers the question, but we need a bit more details to do that.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to what Jem had just said. I think for any industry, whether it is rubber, chemical, polymers, engineering, manufacturing, the first impact to the bottom line is the input costs. And for the rubber industry, the raw material, which is significantly needed, is carbon black. ADNOC has got a significant facility in Abu Dhabi that manufactures carbon black, and therefore a lot of the resources are available locally. As Jem correctly pointed out, auto is a big area where rubber is used. In fact, the second largest tire manufacturing company in the world has their manufacturing facility in KIZAD. They are OEMs for Michelin and Bridgestone, etc. So there's a significant amount of opportunity that I see for more and more manufacturing industries coming in, and also those who wish to set up startups in KIZAD.
Thanks, Karan. The next question is, what are the opportunities for rubber recycling?
So I think that's a good question. We would need to really understand what exactly does the client wish to do in terms of recycling. I can say that there are certain environment restrictions that we will have to analyze basis the inputs coming from the client. So I'll be very happy to take a more detailed discussion with the concerned person in terms of exactly what is the recycling process that they employ, the extent of effluent that comes out of that entire process, and is there an end product or an end use product which is getting manufactured, and for what application is getting manufactured. So very happy, Manjari, to take that in a detailed discussion offline with the client.
Thank you, Karan. We will share your coordinates with the participants so that they can get in touch with you. Karan is the India representative of KIZAD, so he would be taking forward all the queries and business interest that is generated through this meeting. The next question is, could there be a potential for IT companies in chemicals and polymer manufacturing companies? And would we get concessions through KIZAD? That is the first part. The second part is, could we be eligible to set up our facilities in KIZAD? So I believe they are an IT company. This is from Virendra Johan.
Okay, I think my colleague Varun, if he is online and if he can hear us, and maybe you can unmute him, he can probably give a more insight answer to that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Varun is already a panelist.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Varun is there.
Thanks, Manjari. Thanks, Karan. Mr. Vaid, the thing is that regarding the concession, it all depends on what kind of project and what size and what is the kind of impact on the economy which is happening. So then, there are certain concessions in Kizar hand, which is like the rental of the land and all. And then there are certain which are at state level, which are like concessions on utilities like power and things. So it all depends on the kind of project, and we do a feasibility on that and then look at that. Your second question is quite straightforward. Yes, as an IT company, KIZAD offers three kind of products. One is the basic. You can form a trade license, a free zone company, and you get a free zone license, and you can then actually legally operate in UAE with a bank account, and you need bare minimum kind of investment. The second phase is to have a free zone license and a free zone warehouse. And the third and the ultimate thing is where you do manufacturing or large-scale logistics warehousing in Kizar. So we've got everything available. I've shared my contact details. Current contact details will be there. You can get in touch and we can share with you for the things. Hopefully that answers.
Thank you, Varun. Mr. Pratmesh Kulkarni had also asked a question earlier whether there are opportunities for IT companies, although this session is for plastics, chemical, polymers. So partly, I think, Varun, you have also answered his questions. They are an IT-based company, so whether they have opportunities to set up in the same region.
Very much. Anybody in any field can, in trading and in consulting, can set up base in Kizar.
Thank you, Varun. The next question is, KIZAD is managing which type of companies? Is it only the large ones that KIZAD caters to?
So allow me to answer. As I said, there are three kind of products. One is the entry level, which is the trade license only. It is based on a co-sharing place, like a desk space, and you just get a trade license and you can start your either trading or consulting. So this is a one-man kind of company. The second stage is having a warehouse whereby you are importing products, storing it in KIZAD and redistributing in UAE or Middle East. And that is where you're talking about 5 to 10 kind of people in a company. And then the ultimate is a land where a company wants to get into manufacturing or trading on a large scale. And that is what is possible. So all three kinds, there is no restriction in terms of the capital size the company wants to build. Karan, if you would want to add, please.
Yeah, thanks, Varun. Yes, just to take off from Varun, I think it's we cater to a cross section of different sizes of industry. So we have had startups who are taken a simple trade license so that they can explore the GCC and go beyond that in terms of their exploration for their products and services. And that's a simple office address with the co-working space environment, which is provided as part of the trade license. And then as and when the startup decides to, expand, the beauty of it is that you don't need to go outside the free trade zone. There's plenty of room available, as mentioned by Mansoor and Jem in their presentations. KIZAD is about 410 square kilometers of land area. So we are delighted to have companies that start from a one desk operation, and we've seen that in the past, and then expand over a period of time into warehousing and then land, as Varun just said. So you could start in a large format, or you could start in a very, very small format. So we welcome everybody.
And also, just to add what Karan just said, I mean, there is not the one fits all, right? I mean, it's all customized solutions based on your requirements. And we also go step by step on this one, as you have only first you need just to have a small office to elaborate and do your research into the market to see if it's worthwhile to move forward. This option is available, and then you can go step by step. I mean, we do support you in all step of this one. So it all depends on your customized requirements.
Maybe I can attribute to that, Sam, that it also counts for the liquid facility. We are also located in a free zone. So either, like last pandemic showed us very well, that some of the very lean supply chain models were pretty critical and subject to disruptions can cause non-deliveries to your client. So storing in a free zone, liquids, and do the break bulk here towards either Abu Dhabi or other Emirates can help your business as well. And we are there to support you for that as well.
Thank you, Casper. Another question that we have is, what is the advantage that Kizar provides when compared to the free trade zones in Oman?
I mean, if you allow me, I can answer that one. That's a very easy one. I mean, first of all, I mean, looking at the raw material side, I mean, there's an abundance of raw material in Abu Dhabi compared to Oman, simply based on the limited oil and gas availabilities in Oman, and which also the higher production cost base there, which makes raw material and going further downstream more expensive. From an infrastructure perspective, the Abu Dhabi part is already more developed, and I think more importantly, when it comes to operational costs for power, utilities, water, etc., I think there is the rates in UAE or in Abu Dhabi specifically are non-comparable to Oman, which are much more expensive. And Abu Dhabi also provides an integrated approach, not only the port facilities, but also the industrial zone. And as I mentioned earlier, to have the circular approach and the connectivity to all the other industries which are already established in KIZAD. And I think Oman is on this one a little bit more limited in what they have to offer.
Yeah, thanks, Jem. Yeah, Manjari, are you back? So we can take some more questions. We have a little bit more time, or maybe a couple of more questions.
I think, Manjari, a lot of people are asking for contacts. So please tell them that all the contacts will be shared.
Right. So we'll do that. We'll share the contacts of. We will send a mail with all the contact details to all the participants here. I think we have time just for two more questions, so I'll ask them now. For polymer sector, is the raw material locally available or do we import it?
Jem, do you want to answer that?
Sorry, what was the question? Local material available? I didn't hear.
Yeah, so the question, Jem, is that for the polymers sector, is the raw material locally available, or do we need to import the raw material?
I mean, if you talk about raw material, polyethylene and polypropylene, that is definitely available since Borouge, as one of the world scale manufacturers, is based in Abu Dhabi. So the answer is yes.
So I think Casper also, and Casper and I worked on a very interesting case study about, I think Casper, it was last year, I think in July, where we found one of the largest polymers companies, which was importing material in from Europe, could not bring in the material because of the monsoon season in India, and the ship could not dock into their jetty for unloading. And we were talking to them to find a solution in GCC for that. But maybe Casper, you could share some thoughts in that area.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we have the luck, especially that we have deep draft berths, 60 meter. That's more than the average tanker ports for niche chemicals. So we are very well equipped to import products required for any production, including polymers. However, as Sam stressed out, there is local gas and local feedstock provisions in the region as well, either piped or in smaller volumes through truck delivery or ISO tanks or whatever supply. But yes, we have a pretty good connectivity here in the region, and also local support. So kind of you have plan A and plan B as a potential investor or producer in hands. Yeah, it's a good. Let's call it a good production security on feedstock levels. Yeah.
And I might just add,
All right.
one of the most important factors in your production is also the continuous production, right? I mean, any interruption in your production process is costing you money, right? And also upsetting your clients. And here, Borouge also has add as a raw material supplier, has a distribution center within KIZAD, which of course makes availability also much easier, right? Because there's also certain reserve available for all the clients to make sure there's always plenty of material available.
Thank you. Karan, we have time for one last question. Is that all right? Should we take it up?
Yeah, sure, Manjari. You can take one more.
So what are the services that the ECT will provide to chemical industries based in KIZAD?
So I think, Casper, this is the one for you coming your way. Can you elaborate a little bit more in terms of the services that ACT provides for the chemical and polymers sector, which will be based in KIZAD? What's the project looking like in terms of your plans?
Yeah, good question. Thanks for that. Of course, most of the polymers are a dry good, bulk commodity that is either exported or imported. We are operating definitely more on the liquid side. So in terms of feedstock or derivatives in that business, we can support either Indian clients from India that will bring their product towards KIZAD. So we can aggregate a bulk parcel from a ship into our tanks, do a break bulk into smaller packaging materials like ISOs, IBCs, or drummings, and bring that to your clients in the whole GCC actually. So we focus for Abu Dhabi, but it can also definitely go to Saudi, which is one of the largest economies, of course, in GCC, and also to Dubai, Sharjah, Fujairah, Oman, and further. In export, we can be of help aggregating liquid productions into our tanks. We can collect them with our trucks in road tankers, for example, or ISO tanks, whatever what is preferred. Bring them into our tanks, build up inventory, and load ships in larger batches to reduce the cost per ton and make it more efficient. And then either in some cases in Saudi we arrange the shipping, so the sea freight as well. we can be of help there. We can book it for you. We can also assist you with it to deliver to either the east or west or any direction you want to export your products with. So we're pretty flexible, and I think our added value is in that we like to think with potential clients that we deliver bespoken, tailor-made supply chain solution. So we very much welcome any inquiry in that kind and see what we can do. And of course, ACT is not alone, as I said in my beginning of the presentation. We feel part of this community here in KIZAD and Khalifa Port. So we work very close with the local transport company to make that seamless operation. We also work very near with close with the customs organizations, with the local port for permits and getting support. Yeah, I think as a whole, we are pretty well equipped to support the Indian investors and producers very well. Yeah.
And we come to the end of the program, so I would like to invite Mr. Karan Kapadia, the India representative of KIZAD, to please deliver the vote of thanks.
As Karan is delivering the vote of thanks, I request Jem and Varun to start their videos so that everyone can be in one frame. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Karan. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Amol, and thank you, Manjari. First of all, my big thank you to all the participants who came onto this program. I know it is the end of the financial year in India, and also at the end of the financial year, we are grappling with this huge issue of the spike in the COVID cases, 44,000 yesterday, all India. But the good news is that effective from the 1st of April, and this has certainly come as a welcome news from industries in India, that the vaccination program will be opened up for everybody above the age of 45. So, people will certainly get some confidence post getting the vaccine shot. I would also like to thank Ranjit for his valuable comments that he's provided and the numbers that he shared. Very insightful, very focused, very clear. It gives direction for Indian companies to expand overseas. And along with what Ranjit has said, I think there is significant amount of incentives that are provided by the Indian government for industry to look at increasing manufacturing, even if it is manufacturing outside India, because at the end of the day, the profits they anticipate will be remitted back to the Indian company. Thank you to my colleagues from KIZAD, Jem and Varun, who came onto the program, and of course for the fantastic opening comments by our commercial director, Mansoor. And last but not the least, to Casper for his wonderful presentation, as well as the insightful information that he provided in terms of the infrastructure development of ACT at Khalifa Port, KIZAD, and how that will really benefit many of the chemical and polymers companies. Before I end, I would like to say that we will certainly get back to each one of y'all if we have not had a chance to answer your questions, and we will answer those questions, including those questions which need more detailed conversation. My office here in India, we are based in Bangalore, will be calling you shortly, and we will take on some of these more detailed conversations and engagement. We are here to assist you and support you. My contact details are available. I'd request that Manjari and team share my contact details as first point of contact for any questions or clarifications. We can, then provide the necessary guidance on the way forward for some of these questions and clarifications, and then take it forward if we need more in-depth analysis and conversations with experts from ACT, as well as our colleagues in KIZAD, as well as the project team. I'd like to end with this, and over to you, Manjari.
Thank you, Karan, and thank you everyone for the wonderful insights into the opportunities available in the KIZAD region. I think it was a good session, good interactive session. So we would now like to conclude the session. Thank you, everybody.